Alright, we're joining The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions into one film. While the first Matrix movie was well known for its jaw-dropping special effects and stunning visuals, The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions were both known for all the bloat that took up a lot of time without advancing the story. In fact, there is so much bloat in both films that the Wachowskis could have done an edit of The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions into a single film, and they could have cut the combined 4 hours and 27 minutes of Reloaded and Revolutions into a cinema-friendly 2 hours and 44 minutes. The how is exactly what we're going to talk about, first focusing on The Matrix Reloaded. The movie begins with a dream sequence that gives away a scene taking place later in the film. It does this to start a story thread involving Neo believing Trinity is going to die. It also launches the audience right into an action scene. We're then introduced to Link, who is the Nebuchadnezzar's new pilot, brought into the Matrix for a meeting that kicks off the main storyline, shown that Smith is back, given another action scene, this time with Neo fighting 3 upgraded agents, and we see Smith again before we're finally shown the Nebuchadnezzar returning to Zion to continue progressing the main storyline.
Everybody got that?
In short, there's a lot going on here, a good amount of which just isn't needed. It feels like the writers were so excited to show us a lot of stuff, so they crammed little snippets of everything into that small amount of time. So how about we just cut or remove some of that stuff, or at least the ideas being presented? After all, we should make sure to ground the audience in the main storyline before we introduce other elements into it. So let's see what we can do with this. First, we can remove the opening dream sequence, since that action takes place later in the film. But we'll weave this scene into the later scene, as this scene has some really cool shots that aren't repeated later. Because we're dropping this scene from the opening, we'll also be dropping the side plot of Neo having dreams of Trinity's death, as nothing really comes of it. It's revealed later that in his dream, Neo actually saw the agent hit the car, not Trinity. But this attempt at a swerve only raises another question, such as, why did Neo have a dream about Trinity's death that really wasn't Trinity's death, but simply that one time in which he saved her? Also, why doesn't Neo dream about anything else that happens? If he dreamed about the Keymaker's death, he could have saved the Keymaker. If he dreamed about Monica Bellucci helping him find the Keymaker, he wouldn't have been standing in an elevator with Morpheus and Trinity, wondering what they did wrong. The presence of the dream sequence at the start of Reloaded only creates story problems right away. Second, we can remove that first appearance of Smith as well as the second appearance that pairs with it. Why does the movie give away such a big reveal through an unexciting action of Smith walking up to a door and knocking on it? Better to have Smith's reveal be in a way that the audience doesn't expect. Rather than Smith's first line of dialogue be this,
I'm looking for Neo.
It's better to have Smith's first line of dialogue in the film be this.
Look, Smith will suffice.
Now we're feeling like Smith is a real threat from the opening bell. Remember, we show in the story what we want the audience to feel. So, do we want the audience to feel, oh look, it's Smith, as they watch Smith speaking through a hole in the door? Or would we prefer the audience feel, dude, Smith is back, as they witness Smith being a total badass? Do you see what we're doing here? We're chipping away the lame junk and keeping only what works well. That way, the movie doesn't get muddled, scenes don't drag, and we don't get bogged down in needless stuff that only serves to pad the movie's runtime. One place early on in which a scene drags is this conversation between Neo and Counselor Hammond. In it, the counselor explains to Neo his view that man needs machines and machines need man. Problem with this scene is that, like other scenes in this film, it's too heavy-handed. So we have to do some editing to lend this scene a bit of subtlety. Let's watch the original scene.
I like it down here. I like to be reminded this city survives because of these machines. These machines are keeping us alive while other machines are coming to kill us. Interesting, isn't it? Power to give life and the power to end it.
The counselor starts with an obvious statement here that machines have the power to sustain life or end life, depending on how those machines are used. That's true, but it just seems like the only reason he's saying it is so Neo can debate him, which is what we're about to see.
We have the same power. Yeah, I suppose we do, but down here sometimes I think about all those people still plugged into the Matrix, and when I look at these machines, I can't help thinking that in a way we are plugged into them.
Neo is just blatantly misinterpreting the counselor's obvious statement as if the counselor was saying that machines are greater than man. So Neo makes an obvious statement of his own that humans can also sustain life or end life. It's just a pair of statements that are really unnecessary.
But we control these machines, they don't control us.
Of course not. How could they? The idea is pure nonsense, but it does make one wonder just what is control?
If we wanted, we could shut these machines down.
So here the counselor dismisses Neo's idea of control. What he doesn't realize is that Neo is correct here. The counselor seems to mistake humans using machines as tools with machines controlling humans. I mean, humans need machines, but if humans found another method to sustain themselves, then yes, those machines could be shut down. So yes, that is humans controlling the fate of machines. If you flip that around, the machines in the movie need humans to sustain themselves. But if the machines found another source of energy, then the machines can shut down the human power plants. So yes, the machines are controlling the fate of the humans. Problem with this exchange of dialogue is that the audience is supposed to believe that the counselor is correct and Neo is incorrect, which is just wrong.
That's it. You hit it. That's control, isn't it? If we wanted, we could smash them to bits. Although if we did, we'd have to consider what would happen to our lights, our heat, our air.
So we need machines and they need us. Is that your point, counselor?
And finally, Neo understands the point the counselor is making. Although, given how badly the counselor was making that point, I can understand why Neo was initially confused, taking 4 lines of dialogue to finally get the point. So let's cut some dialogue to lend the counselor's part of this conversation a bit more subtlety while making his point completely clear.
I like it down here. I like to be reminded this city survives because of these machines. Down here sometimes I think about all those people still plugged into the Matrix, and when I look at these machines, I can't help thinking that in a way we are plugged into them.
Okay, so the counselor's obvious statement is gone now, and so is Neo's. Instead, we focus on the valid comparison the counselor makes. There are humans plugged into the Matrix, and there are humans plugged into Zion's machines, and in both instances, humans need machines to survive, which turns the idea that machines are evil on its head.
If we wanted, we could shut these machines down.
If we wanted, we could smash them to bits. Although if we did, we'd have to consider what would happen to our lights, our heat, our air.
So we need machines and they need us. Is that your point, counselor?
Okay, so you see now how we've streamlined this conversation to get right to the point of the counselor trying to get Neo to see that humans and machines depend on each other. And Neo gets that point in only his second line of dialogue, which makes Neo seem much smarter than in the original edit. We no longer get bogged down in the unneeded philosophical question, what is control? We simply don't need that. Again, subtlety is the better way to go here, so the conversation doesn't get stuck trying to explain more than needs to be explained. Of course, sticking philosophical questions where they don't belong is one of the ways in which the Wachowskis pad the film's runtime. And by the way, we have to cut the terrible prayers and orgies scene that, again, is doing nothing more than padding the movie's runtime. Without the rave scene, and with a few other cuts, at just before the 30-minute mark of the movie is now when the Oracle tells Neo that he must return to the source, which is perfect for a well-paced film. And speaking of padding the movie's runtime, how about that Burly Brawl? Now, if you're a fan of the film, I know what you're saying. The Burly Brawl can't be cut, man. It just can't. Actually, yes, it can be cut, and cutting the scene improves the movie's flow and pacing.
You've made a believer out of me. Good luck, kiddo.
The machines are tunneling to avoid our defense system. But I believe that they're going to intersect certain pipelines in order to control them.
As cool as it is to watch Neo fighting 100 Smiths, the scene really detracts from the film, slowing it down while depicting Smith as nothing more than a thorn in Neo's side rather than a true threat to him.
It was Smith. Yes.
Now there's more than one of them.
A lot more.
How is that possible?
I don't know. Somehow he's found a way to copy himself.
Is that what he was doing to you?
I don't know what he was doing.
And Smith is never mentioned again, not even before the crew must enter the Matrix twice more. So, saving Smith's reveal to Neo for Neo's last time entering the Matrix in the movie just makes sense. Plus, Smith reveals himself to Neo in a more surprising way at a critical time for Neo in the story. Of course, with the opening action scene gone, and with the Burly Brawl gone, as well as another needless action scene that only makes me wonder how hard the Wachowskis racked their brains to come up with a way for Neo to fight Jet Li on screen, what we're left with is a start to the main storyline, Neo fighting the 3 agent upgrades, the Nebuchadnezzar returning to Zion as the story is developed further. Then we flow into the next necessary action scene, which is the fight for the Keymaker. And the point to all of this cutting is to ensure that we're telling a story that contains action rather than making up excuses in the story for the next action scene to take place.
The Oracle has many enemies. I had to be sure.
Of what?
That you are the one.
Could have just asked.
No, you do not truly know someone until you fight them.
Of course, even when we have a needed action scene, such as the freeway chase, we still have to watch for inconsistencies. For example, if Morpheus is beating up on an upgraded agent, even though the rules of the first film clearly established that this should not be so, then we have to cut that fight.
We have survived by hiding from them, by running from them. But they are the gatekeepers. They are guarding all the doors, they are holding all the keys, which means that sooner or later, someone is going to have to fight them.
Someone.
I won't lie to you, Neo. Every single man or woman who has stood their ground, everyone who has fought an agent has died.
We don't want anything in Reloaded to contradict or weaken what we've seen in the first film. Morpheus' action in helping Neo to escape in the first movie is such a huge deal because Morpheus engages in a fight with an agent that he knows he can't beat. That's what makes his action a sacrifice for the greater good. Morpheus fighting and beating an upgraded agent in Reloaded weakens that scene from the first movie and the importance of his action, which is a good reason to cut the scene. Plus, the inclusion of the Morpheus fight during the chase only extends the scene out longer than it really needs to be. That's all for now. Be sure to look out for the second part of this series, which will cover more heavy-handed philosophical stuff, along with a transition from one movie to the next. Yeah, we're going to cover the Merovingian next. That's going to be fun. I think I'm just going to give him his own full video. He definitely deserves it, I think. Really good actor, that guy.